and I'm gonna crush this sandwich because it's so beautiful. Broth, I love you. What's up, everybody? Chef Matt Basile here, still on hiatus, still in Florida, still barbecuing sandwiches, still hungry for some sandwiches. I know you are too. I got some color. I had the weekend off. Look at that. I fell asleep by the pool. Had a Bahama Mama. It's true. Had a Bahama Mama. They're fantastic. If you know what they are, look them up. It's basically a Shirley Temple with some rum in it. Anyways, today's sandwich is the Birria beef torta, or Birria beef sandwich. One of my favorites, traditionally done as a taco, but today we are going to kind of jazz it up and do a sandwich version of it. What I love about this sandwich is it has juicy, smoky pulled beef, crunchy raw onion, cilantro, melted cheese, all in a bun. The star of the show is it comes with a little bowl of broth for dipping. If you needed to draw a comparison, it's like a Mexican street food beef dip sandwich. Not the same thing, just drawing a comparison. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to cook. It is so wonderful, so let's get started. So, the cut of beef that we are using for this is the beef blade, otherwise known as the cow shoulder. What I love about the beef blade is it is super fatty, very soft. It is meant to be a low and slow cook, so this is going to take about anywhere between 3 to 5 hours, depending on how well it takes in that broth. Really, you know it's done when it falls apart, and that's how easy it should be. It should just fall apart for you. So we have our beef shoulder blade here. I've got about 3 pounds of it. There's no bone in it, just meat. I've got a little bit of our mustard binder. Gotta have that mustard binder. Beautiful. And then I'm just gonna do the other side. The mustard, what's great about it is you don't really taste that mustard over the long cook. It does add a little hit of acidity, obviously, which you know I'm a big fan of. But what's great about it is it really does allow the spice blend that you use to adhere to the meat, which is why we do it. We have a basic barbecue rub. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some of that on this. That's gonna help get a nice salty crust on our meat when we give it a light smoking. But then I'm also gonna add a little bit of ancho powder. Ancho obviously being dried pepper. It's gonna give it those really intense flavor profiles that we want. And we want a nice heavy seasoning on this, so don't be shy. Beautiful, amazing. So we got the ancho, we got the barbecue. It's got our smokiness, it's got our saltiness, it's got all the things. Amazing. Now, because we're gonna also be stewing this in broth, the flavor that's on this rub is going to also permeate our beef broth. Great, put it off to the side. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
All right, time to build our flavor profile for our broth that's gonna be stewing our beef blade. Super simple, onions, tomatoes, some cilantro. That's it. So I have some various onions left in the fridge from something else that we did. That's kind of the best way to do it. Like, look in your fridge, see what you have. I got a little baby Spanish onion. I have some red onion here too. You have some shallots, as Mr. Gordon Ramsay likes to say, shallots. I love hearing him say the word shallots.
Shallots.
Some tomatoes, nice and soft, nice and juicy, which is exactly what we want. It's gonna be adding to our flavor of our broth here. Some cilantro, and the best part about this cilantro is a lot of it was kind of like on the verge of going. Great, don't throw it out. Please don't throw it out. And chop it up, it's all going in. I'm gonna be stewing the beef in this pan. If I was doing this indoors, it would be in a stock pot. When you're cooking outside, you can take little liberties. It's great. It's like, I can cook it in that thing, I can make it in that thing, whatever, it can just sit in that thing. That's it, just have some fun. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you. Pan goes in, a little bit of oil, a little canola oil, higher smoke point. I'm just gonna close that just a little bit just to get some heat on it before we start to add our ingredients. Oil nice and hot in the pan. We'll start with our onions. And we're gonna start to just hear them pop a little bit, which is great. Tomatoes are gonna go in, cilantro's gonna go in. Let that cook a little. Okay, now while the onions and tomato and cilantro are just kind of lightly cooking in that oil in that pan to get the base started for our stewed birria beef taco. I said tacos. That's how often I do them as tacos. Torta, birria beef torta. So I got hot charcoal in the chimney. I'm just gonna dump it. Wood, I'm gonna just throw on the outside parts of the hot charcoal. I don't want it right at that hot center. Whew, that is hot. This is how you build flavor. Charcoal, cherry wood, awesome. That's the base of the flavor profile. Woo, hot little center. Remember the onion and garlic and, no garlic, onion and tomatoes and cilantro thing? Great, I'm gonna put that right there, okay? I'm gonna put that beef on top, okay? Now, some beef broth. So that way it doesn't burn at the bottom here. Just gonna add a little beef broth to that. Not a lot, we're gonna add more later. I've used about, what is this, a liter? I used about half of this thing. Just to ensure that those ingredients at the bottom don't burn under that hot flame. I wanna activate its flavor as quickly as possible. Because it's gonna be stewed, you're gonna lose some of that intensity of the smoke. This is the fastest way to bring out that flavor as quickly as possible. Okay, so good news. The beef is starting to pull back, which is exactly what I want. We've shocked it with that high intensity smoke. Now I'm going to add that beef into that beautiful onion, tomato, cilantro stock thing that we started. I've also got about 4 liters of beef broth to add to that as well. All right, so we've got this beautiful smoky beef. That's gonna go right in there just like so. And we're gonna add some beef stock to that. So I have about 2 liters of the broth that I have set aside in there right now. The other 2 liters we'll probably have to add as we cook. So at about the 1-2 hour mark, I'll check in, see how much it's reduced and see how much more broth I need to put in. What's great about smoking something in a liquid, in a braise, is it's still getting that smoke flavor in the actual stock itself, but it's way less intense. My favorite part is when the fat of the beef starts to render into that broth. So when you go in for that dip, it's not watery, it's nice and fatty. I can tell I'm excited. Okay, we got a couple hours there. Okay, so beef is almost cooked. Like I said, you know it's done when it's ready to pull apart. It's been cooking now for about 3.5, 4 hours. I've used about 3.5 liters of that beef stock. It looks awesome. So I'm gonna get all the other components ready to go. First off, the bun I'm using is a nice crusty round roll. So I highly recommend that. You don't have to use a round roll, but you're gonna want something that can hold that nice soft meat. All right, so now just to get the toppings ready, we have our Spanish onion. Just gonna finely chop it. You want it very finely chopped. You don't want to bite into big pieces of raw onion. So I'm gonna put the onions in a bowl. Now I'm gonna take some cilantro, do the exact same thing. Not a lot, just a nice little chunk there. I'm gonna finely chop that. That's gonna get transferred to the bowl with the onions. Just gonna mix these around. Now, to pull the meat off the grill and start to break it apart. So now this is the fun part. I'm gonna take this piece of beef, I'm gonna transfer it to this parchment paper. Some of the tomatoes and onions and cilantro on there. You're supposed to use a knife, but look how soft that is. You don't even need to. So I've got that broken up. I'm just gonna take a little bit more broth, pour that broth, that juice, right over top. Smashing it in its own juices. You want to keep the juice in that meat when we're breaking it apart. Okay, so now, last little step. I'm just gonna take this lime, cut this lime in half. I'm just gonna squeeze a little bit of fresh lime juice over that meat. And that acidity will just help cut through that beautiful fatty beef. Okay, just amazing. All right, so I'm gonna just transfer this all back into our dish, like so. And now we're gonna build this sandwich. One of the quintessential parts of the Birria beef torta sandwich is that there needs to be melted cheese and the bun sitting in that melted cheese. The meat's gonna get built into that. We're gonna cut it, top it, and put a little broth on the side to dip. So now that it's starting to melt, I'm gonna just put the bun right in that cheese. See that beautiful crispy bit? See all that? That's the money. Now I'm just gonna lightly toast the other side. Like, look at that. So that cheese is melted and crispy at the exact same time. So I've got that beautiful melted crispy cheese there, that amazing broth that we've had cooking 3-4 hours with that meat and the tomatoes and the cilantro and the onions. Now I'm gonna take this meat, and it's gonna go right in the sandwich. I'm gonna close this and wrap it all together. Cut it. Cilantro and onions right over top. Well, there you have it, folks. Smoked broth in one hand, a birria beef torta in the other. I'm set. I'm set. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like the channel, subscribe to it as well. Leave a comment down below because that's what we do. And I'm gonna crush this sandwich because it's so beautiful. Broth, I love you.